Welcome into today's edition of my live NBA mailbag where I'm answering all of your questions about all things NBA. So use hashtag NBA or send me your super chats and we'll get those questions answered for you. And if you want some new NBA City Edition gear, guess what? I got you covered. This link right here, chatsports.com/NBA City. You can go get jerseys, hats, backpacks, shoes, sweatshirts, whatever you need in the latest City Edition styles at chatsports.com/NBA City. Wanya Hendricks coming up with the first question, says trade Tobias Harris and 4 first-rounders for James Harden. It's not bad. I think you have to give up a couple young players. Maybe Tyrese Maxey, maybe Shake Milton, maybe Matisse Thybulle, maybe 2 of those 3 guys to really make that work. But I don't think that's too bad. I mean, 4 first-rounders and Tobias Harris, a guy who can give you 20 points per night, pretty darn good. I think both teams could say yes if you add in either a Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, or a Shake Milton. One of those 3 would definitely have to be included in that trade. Jeff says, which coaches do you see getting fired this year? I got 2, maybe 3 on my mind that will get axed. Number 1, Luke Walton. Get him out of Sacramento. That is just, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. It's time to move on from Luke Walton. You don't really need him there anymore. He's the one guy that's really coming to mind right off the top of my head. Other than that, I really can't even think of anybody that would really be super disappointing. Maybe Doc Rivers if that Philly experiment just implodes and it doesn't continue to work. But I think at the end of the day, that will be okay, and he will have enough talent to make that work. Super chat from Tom Downey's burner account says, what do you see happening with Kevin Porter Jr.? I also want to shout out Pat for the super chat, $1.99 earlier in the show. Appreciate you, Pat. What do I see happening with him? Well, he got arrested, so that was unfortunate. I think he's supposed to be back in training camp here sooner rather than later. If he can stay out of trouble, he's going to be a really good talent. But I think that's always going to be the question. You know, can he stay out of trouble? And I don't know that he can at this point in his career. If he does, I think he could be a 6th man on that Cleveland team or maybe even start on some nights. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about Kevin Porter Jr., but I appreciate your super chat, Tom Downey's burner account. Mark Dooley says, should the Celtics be the favorites in the East? The favorites in the Eastern Conference, I feel like that's a bit bold. I'm not ready to say they're like the favorites because I think there's at least 3 teams that are going to be better than Boston this year. I think the Milwaukee Bucks will definitely be number 1. I think the Miami Heat are easily number 2. And then I think you can maybe argue with me that Brooklyn or Philly or Boston could be in at number 3. I think these last 3 teams are all a bit interchangeable. Brooklyn, Boston, Philadelphia, all interchangeable. But to say that the Boston Celtics will be the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference just doesn't feel realistic to me. So I'm going to say no, but I think they could be at least top 3 at the highest. I think at the very lowest, I think their floor will be 5th in the Eastern Conference. If you want more Celtics coverage, I got you covered at youtube.com/CelticsTV. But who do you think will be the favorites in the Eastern Conference? Excuse me. If you think it's the Bucks, type B. If you think it's the Brooklyn Nets, type N. If you think it's the Miami Heat, type H. Or if you have a different team, maybe the Boston Celtics, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. Super chat time from Alvaro. Is Harden doing all this fuzz to leave to Brooklyn? Probably. I think that's where he wants to go at this point. But I don't think the Rockets are really in any hurry to trade him. I think they'll wait till he shows up. They'll see how he plays with John Wall. If he doesn't want to be there, maybe they'll trade him. If he gets 1 game under his belt and he's just chucking up shots left and right, maybe they just move on from him for next to nothing. But I think Harden's just being a diva, in all honesty. I'm not really impressed with the way that James Harden has been acting this early in training camp. IlJ says, will Kevin Durant play the same when he gets off his injury? No. I think it's unreasonable to expect that he will still be a top 2 player in the NBA after coming off an Achilles injury. I do think he'll still be probably 75% of what Kevin Durant is, and 75% of Kevin Durant is still top 15 in the NBA. So I think he'll be okay, but to expect him to go out and put up 27 points per game right off the bat, I think that might be a bit unrealistic. Webb's World 1 says Jaxson Hayes and Josh Hart for Michael Porter Jr. in a $2 super chat. I think the Nuggets probably say no in that situation. Jaxson Hayes and Josh Hart are nice pieces, but at the end of the day, Michael Porter Jr. is probably a top-tier starter at his peak in the NBA. Jaxson Hayes can be a good starter. Josh Hart will never be more than a 6th man in the NBA, so I'm going to say the Nuggets say no in that situation. Zane says Celtics trade Romeo Langford and an unprotected pick for Buddy Hield. we haven't seen what Romeo Langford looks like. Until we see how healthy Romeo Langford is and we can see if he can actually play at the level of a lottery pick that he was a couple of years ago, we can't really trade him for a proven talent like Buddy Hield. Now, the pick is great, but I'm just not convinced that it's ready to be, it's good enough to land them Buddy Hield for just Romeo Langford. Maybe if you threw in a Grant Williams or a Carson Edwards plus one other player, but just Romeo Langford in a pick, I think the Kings say no, but go ahead and subscribe to our Celtics channel for more of that coverage. But also, make sure you subscribe to our very own channel at youtube.com/chatsportstv, where we've got all the best NBA coverage. And if you have already subscribed, type me in the live chat. We want to see how many of you have subscribed, because right now on our live show, we got about 700 people watching. I want to see 700 plus me's in the chat letting me know that you have subscribed. Or if you're just now joining us, go ahead and subscribe right now and turn on your notifications, because the NBA season starts this month. youtube.com/chatsportstv. We got you covered with all the best live coverage and all the best coverage in total about the NBA. So help us get to 250,000 subscribers by hitting that big red subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Braden says, I say CJ McCollum a first rounder for James Harden to first you see it happening. And what are the odds the Blazers win it all? I don't see that happening. CJ McCollum in a first is not enough to get James Harden. And the odds of the Blazers winning it all are pretty slim. I just don't think they're good enough right now. I think if they're 100% healthy, they're a top probably 5 team in the Western Conference, but I'm not ready to say they're going to win it all. Now, if they got James Harden and Damian Lillard together, yeah, they'd win it all. But with just CJ McCollum, I don't think. If they just go Dame and CJ, I don't think that's a championship team this year. Webb's World 1 says, what do the Magic do with Mo Bamba? I mean, you kind of hope he develops. I don't think you can give up on him quite yet, but I'm not ready to say that he's going to be a starting caliber player this next year. I think it's time for the Magic to tank it out, maybe trade away some pieces and let Mo Bamba kind of take over more playing time from Nikola Vucevic, but we'll have to see what the Magic end up doing. Cam says, what do the Clippers need to do to win a championship? Just figure out the drama in the locker room. That's the biggest thing. Kawhi and PG are more than talented enough. Same with Serge Ibaka. You add him in the mix and Lou Williams. But as of right now, there's too much drama going on in that locker room, and I'm not ready to put them as a championship contender until they figure all that out. The Real Goat says, who's making it out of the Eastern Conference? I know it's a boring answer, but I think it's the Milwaukee Bucks again. Not again, but I think it's going to happen this year. I think Giannis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton is arguably one of the best trios in the NBA, and I got to say, I think they're easily the best team in the Eastern Conference. Clay says, what's your favorite city jersey? Ooh, good question. There's a lot of good ones. I like the Phoenix Suns city jerseys quite a bit. I really like the Los Angeles Lakers city jerseys. And I also like the Dallas Mavericks white and gold jerseys. All three of those are honestly got to be top 3 for me. And if you want a city jersey for yourself, chatsports.com/NBA City has got you covered. But not just jerseys. We got much more than jerseys available on that website. I'm talking hats. I'm talking hoodies. I'm talking more jerseys, jackets, whatever you guys need at chatsports.com/NBA City. They've got you covered. Any team, any NBA City style you want. Hey, if you want last year's City edition, you can go find that at this link too at chatsports.com/NBA City, and all that stuff is on sale. But out with the old, in with the new. Go get the new stuff today from that link at Fanatics at chatsports.com/NBA City. Best place to go for all your City edition gear. So go check us out, chatsports.com/NBA City. Click that link today. Blanky E says, do you think the Raptors can make any trades by the deadline? I don't know what the Raptors want to do. As of right now, it's probably a bit too early to say, hey, they're going to trade this player or that player. Maybe they move on from Kyle Lowry if they feel like he's going to leave in free agency. But right now, off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what kind of moves they'd be making. If they want to take the next step up, they'd have to probably go out and try to find a guy like a James Harden to be their next real superstar on that team. But if I'm the Raptors, if you're going to trade Kyle Lowry, I say you just go with it and start to enter a bit of a rebuild around Pascal Siakam. Tyler Burbeck says Draymond, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, and 4 first-round picks for James Harden. Me, oh my. That is a lot for James Harden. I know usually I'm saying you guys aren't giving up enough for James Harden. I think this might be giving up a bit too much for James Harden. 4 first-rounders plus a guy that's been with your franchise for so long in Draymond Green, plus Kelly Oubre, who's an 18-point-per-game guy, plus Andrew Wiggins, who's a 20-point-per-game guy, I think the Warriors say no. I think it'd be more realistic if you go Kelly Oubre, Wiggins, and maybe 2 first-round picks. That might be more realistic, but throwing Draymond in there too, I think the Warriors say no. If you want more Warriors coverage, you want to throw me more Warriors trades, I got you covered at youtube.com/WarriorsTV. Alex Poole says, would the Nets be better with their current team and not Harden just due to fit and more depth? I don't know if they'd be better, but I think they're better off, if that makes sense. If there's a little bit of a difference there. Like, I think statistically, and when you look at numbers and wins, they're probably a little bit better with James Harden. But when it comes to the risk involved in trading so many guys for James Harden, you roll with what you got. You roll with Jared Allen. You roll with Spencer Dinwiddie. You roll with Karis LeVert, DeAndre Jordan, guys like that off the bench. And then, of course, KD and Kyrie in that starting 5. So maybe not better in terms of stats, but better off in terms of playing it safe. Yeah, I think they might be. VPC says, will Mitchell be in the MVP race this year? Obviously, Donovan Mitchell. MVP feels a little bit ambitious for Donovan Mitchell. Unless the Jazz are like top 3 in the West and Mitchell's putting up, 26 plus per game, I can't see him winning MVP. Jason Gervais says, who do you think is the best trio in the league? Ooh, good question. I'll probably do my top trios here pretty soon, but it's harder because trios are kind of dying out in the NBA. I'd probably go all around, like Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday. That's pretty hard to beat. If Michael Porter Jr. takes the next step, Jokic, Murray, and MPJ, that's pretty good as well. I mean, if you just want to go because they're so top 2 heavy with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and then your third is like Montrezl Harrell, that could probably be a top 3 trio as well. Carson Travis says, who will be the biggest surprise on the Lakers? And Carson, I know you're probably wanting me to say Talen Horton-Tucker because I see him in your Avi, but it's not Talen Horton-Tucker. I think it's actually Marc Gasol. And I know you're probably saying, well, he's just a veterans minimum kind of guy. Like, what is he going to give you? I think that's the point, is they're bringing on a guy who has started 98% of the games in his career. He has continued to win, honestly, just continuously since he's been with the Raptors and the Grizzlies as well. I think it's a guy that's going to come in and give you probably 10 points per game a night, 7 rebounds, and be a solid defensive presence. And I think he will surprise a lot of people with the amount of impact that he has on that Lakers team. But if you're a Lakers fan, let me know who you are most excited about for Los Angeles. If it's Dennis Schroeder, type DS. Marc Gasol, type MG. Montrezl Harrell, which I have a feeling will be most of your answers, type MH. Or maybe it's Wesley Matthews, type WM in the comment section. Brentley Crazy Booker says, do the Lakers win again? I think he meant the Lakers there. And I'm going to be honest, it's hard to say no. I think this team has revamped themselves. They have completely gone from a championship caliber team that is, supposed to win the championship to, if they don't win the championship, it's disappointing. Because when you have that much talent on one team and that much really kind of, I think, unselfish talent as well and talent that likes each other, I think they should absolutely win it again next year. But get more Lakers coverage from me at youtube.com/LakersTV. Kevin says, should Cole Anthony start for Orlando? Not yet. I think he could eventually take over Evan Fournier's spot, and maybe you start Fultz and Cole Anthony in the same backcourt, but then that kind of feels like the same player in the same backcourt, that one of them is just a little bit of a better shooter. So I think your starting 5 right now in Orlando is Markelle Fultz, Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic. I mean, probably Al-Farouq Aminu in there as well. Now, if they don't want Aminu in there and they want to go a little bit smaller, you could potentially start Cole Anthony alongside Evan Fournier and Markelle Fultz, but I wouldn't put him there quite yet. Super chat coming in here from Alvaro Sandoval says, what are the prospect players to watch this season? Oh, prospect players. I'm assuming he means NBA prospects when it comes to like young players in the NBA, or I mean, you got to obviously watch all the rookies. Guys like James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, the way they're going to develop are going to be a lot of fun. Another guy that's a little bit more he's kind of under the radar now because he went to a team where he'll probably be a backup. I'm ready to watch Onyeka Okongwu really develop. If we're talking outside of rookies, watch Detroit and watch Sekou Doumbouya play with the Pistons. I think he's going to get some real time, and he'll be able to develop a little bit more. I'm going to also be keeping my eye on Michael Porter Jr., the Denver Nuggets, and RJ Hampton, both guys to watch as well. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a couple surprises of young players that break out this year in the NBA.